Greetings everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here and tuning in. I hope you're learning a lot and enjoying these lessons. This week, thank you to my patrons who helped me choose the topic. We're gonna do a sunset over the lake and a couple swans here on the lake, so that should be a fun little relaxing painting. We're gonna go straight to it and go over the materials we need for today. I'm using a 16 by 20 inch gallery canvas. It has a couple layers of gesso. Also, if you're interested in these canvases, there's a link down below in the description. I partnered with Feliks. These are high quality canvases. There's a 18 by 24 and a 16 by 20 is available either on Amazon or my website. So if you're interested, this is my favorite canvas to paint on. That's what I'm using today. You could use anything you'd like. For paint, we're gonna use acrylics, and I'm gonna be using my premium colors here, and I'll show you which colors we need from this set. I'm going to also use the titanium white from my 5 set. We need medium yellow, orange, scarlet, crimson red, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, lamb black. You could use any acrylics you have available, whatever works best for you. For brushes, I'm going to use these two blending brushes. One, I like to dab in the water, pick up my paint, and lay the colors out first. And then the second one, I like to work dry to blend everything in quickly. Good news, I was able to create 2 sizes down. This is a M2 and this is a M3. They're now available on my website. Basically, I had many people asking me if I can make a smaller blending brush so that they can work on blending some smaller sections. Some people like to work on a small area, and this works great, or smaller paintings. So this is the biggest size, and then as you could see, it goes down gradually. Another awesome news, which I'm really excited about, is I was able to design my own brush set, and they're finally out now that it will be easier for you guys to locate these instead of searching one by one. So this is the brush set that I use in every of my paintings here on YouTube or in my personal work. This is a number 8, this is a number 4, and then the 0 detail brush right here, and then a 1/2 inch flat brush. So these are finally out. They're available on my website, so if you're interested, there's links to them down below. Actually, everything that I'm using here today is available, and I'll show you them up close. This is a number 8, as you could see. A number 4. And then the 0 detail brush. And then 1/2 inch flat brush. And of course we need palette paper or palette. I like to use palette paper because once I'm done, I just, bunch it up and throw it away. We need a palette knife to mix your paint, a jar of water, some paper towels or tissues. I ran out of paper towels, so I'm going to use tissues today. It doesn't really matter. If you have masking tape, we're going to use that today to create our straight line. And last but not least, a hair blow dryer, if you have this, to dry out your first coats. Okay, let me tell you the plan for this piece. We're going to work in sections, so I like to mix colors. I've had questions where people ask me, how do you keep your acrylics from drying? So the way I like to do it is I only mix enough on my palette just for a section or a part I'm working on. For example, I'm going to do the sky first, and we're going to, get the sky colors down, and then we're going to maybe mix some more colors to add the clouds and work on the clouds a bit, and then we're going to mix some trees and bushes next, and then we're going to do the water and all that stuff. So I like to work in sections. So that's the plan. We're going to add a couple swans here, and we'll see what happens and have fun with it, all right? Yours might turn out a bit different. There's no right or wrong on how your clouds will look, all right? Just follow along, have fun, and enjoy the process. All right, so for this first section, we're going to mix our colors just for the sky, okay? Quickly mix that as a base coat and as a background layer, okay? So let's pick up our titanium white and create some colors. So my titanium white, and I'm going to add it right in the corner right here, about like a thumb amount, okay? And then maybe about the same amount there, and then maybe each time go a little bit less, okay? Something like this. And I might add one more right in here. Okay, so a thumb amount, and each time just a little less, and we might add some more later on, we'll see, but this is what I have. Next, medium yellow, and we're going to add a little bit of it right in here, small touch, and a little bit right in here, maybe a little more, okay? Let's pick up orange and add orange on this one. Okay, just a small touch and maybe a little bit in here, like this. Let's do Scarlet and add a touch right in here and a touch in here, maybe a little more like this. Not too much though, you know. Let's do Cobalt Blue and let's add it a small touch right in here and then a little bit in here. And then Ultramarine Blue, and let's add a touch right in here, and then maybe let's add another shade right in here. So I might add a touch of white in here. But there you go, that's what I have. And let's mix and see what colors it gives us. So palette knife, and my first color, I always like to start with the lightest. That way I don't bring the dark colors down to my brightest color. Okay, so quickly mix that. And I like to make little piles after I'm done mixing. So there you go. Our first color is a nice bright yellow. This should be leaning towards orange since we added a touch of orange there. And we're going to just cover the sky first. Now I'm going to add some reflection to the water, but I decided sometimes I like to just paint the sky and the water immediately together quickly, you know, but since, you know, either way works, but I think it's easier to just slowly work in sections and you'll get a good result that way. So I decided to do it this way today. There you go. Next. Will be a nice pink. Okay, and this should be a little bit more darker pink. Okay, right there, and it's okay if I'm bringing some pink down. All these colors are going to blend. So I'm going to add some more white on here because I want my part of my sky to be pretty bright. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and I'll show you the amount. Basically, I added a little more right here. I want this to be a bright area in my sky. So quickly mix all that in, and then this should be a darker blue. Now I decided to add crimson red and a touch of white to this ultramarine blue, okay? I'm gonna do that because some of my clouds, like this side, is gonna be a little bit darker and with clouds, so I wanna add some color in there. And so I decided to add a touch of crimson red, and I'll show you exactly what I did. And a little bit of white. So right there, you see, just a small touch of that crimson red and a little bit of that white to brighten it a little bit. But we want it to be darker than, you know, this color. So it needs to be, so this red one and this are my darkest color on this palette, I could see. So we're going to use these two colors up in our corners here. So there you go, a quick mix of colors. This is what I have. So I'm going to pick up one of my blending brushes and dab it in the water all the way, okay? And then squeeze part of it out, but leave some in there. And then also I'm going to have this water jar next to me, so every time I say I'm dabbing my brush, I'm just dabbing it just on the tip a little bit, okay, to pick up more water. In the beginning, I do this to lay out the colors so that the acrylics can dry slower. Water helps do that. I personally like to do it that way, but honestly, whatever works for you should be good. So I have some water in my blending brush, and I'm gonna start with the lightest color, okay? And I don't have too much water, but just enough. So I'm gonna pick up all of it like this, okay? Pick up all this beautiful yellow color. And we're gonna start, so the horizon line is gonna be like right in the middle, okay? So we're just gonna start, you know, where the brightest area is gonna be. So I'm gonna guess it's gonna be somewhere here, all right? So I'm gonna pick all that color up, okay? And now I'm gonna dab my brush in the water, just the tip like I showed you. Pick up the rest of this color and dab it again. And now on to the next, this orange. Let's put it right here next to it. Go all the way. And this is the base coat, okay? So it's just the base of our sky. So we're gonna add clouds later. So there you go. Now I'm gonna dab my brush and use this pink and add it right in here. Okay, dab my brush in the water again. Take all that color. Let's add it right here too. Okay, dab my brush in the water again. And I'm gonna go straight to my lightest color right here. Remember this color we mixed? Let's just add it right in the middle, mainly in the middle. I want my middle to be the brightest. And had a little eraser there from my last project. So dabbing my brush in the water again, picking up all the color right here. And now I'm gonna dab my brush and pick up my next blue color and add it right here on top. Remember, there's gonna be some clouds on the sides, so I'm not gonna worry too much about. So just lay it out there like this, dabbing my brush in the water and picking up this blue, okay, and I'm gonna add this blue right on top right here. Okay, on both sides actually. On both sides, like this. Okay, quickly. And a little more right here. And the rest, I'm gonna dab my brush in the water, take part of this red, and let's add, because there's gonna be some clouds in here. So let's just add it like this. Dabbing my brush in the water, taking a little bit more of this red and adding it right in here. Why not? Okay, there you go. You know, I added it real quick, and now that my background is quickly laid out, I'm gonna pick up my blending brush, dry one, the second one. We're gonna swirl very softly while the paint is still wet. Start from the lightest areas. And this is a quick blend. Remember, this is our background, so don't focus too much on it. We're gonna be adding a bunch of clouds and having fun with it. So I'm going to just quickly blend the lightest areas first. Pulling the paint upwards. Okay, like this. Okay, I'm only focused on the lighter areas first. And then I'm gonna go around the darker areas right here. And I'm barely pressing, okay, I'm barely pressing. See how nice that looks? That creates a nice, smooth blend. And quickly blend everything in. Even if you carry a little bit of that red down, that's fine, because the bottom part is going to be, we're going to add more clouds in there. So you could see I'm pulling the paint upwards and even, you know, taking away the brush strokes. There you go. A nice quick background blend. So while my background is drying, I'm going to quickly clean out my brushes so that they won't sit in the water too long, and then get a new water. And then my palette fell on the floor flat, so I had to just rip it off and start with a new fresh palette paper, which is fine because our first section is done. Now we're going to mix some more colors for our clouds, okay? All right, my brushes are clean. I got a new water, and my painting is almost dry, so I'm going to quickly dry this out completely, and then we're going to continue adding the clouds. All right, I quickly laid out the colors on the palette. It's almost similar to the background colors we made, but a little less. And we're going to add some clouds, okay? So this is what I have, just the white plane by itself, and then white and some yellow, about the same amount, and then a small touch of yellow and the same amount of orange, a little more white there, and then orange and a touch of crimson red, and then crimson red and some white, and then white, more ultramarine blue, and crimson red. Okay, so I'm going to start mixing this one, and it should give me, since I added more yellow, it should give me even a brighter yellow color than our first yellow. Okay, so you could see it's nice and bright. Next should be leaning towards a darker orange. Our first orange wasn't as bright, it was more, since we added more white. But now I'm trying to make these colors stand out a little more, so I'm not adding too much white because white kind of makes it more smooth and dull. But the clouds, I want to make them dramatic. So here's that. Okay, and then this one. Now, I might add more along the way, but for now, we'll see what we can create with what I have, okay? And then, of course, the last, but not least, ultramarine blue, a touch of crimson and white. Okay. This is what I have. Remember, always clean your palette knife so the paint won't dry quickly like this. So now I'm going to pick up my number 4 brush right here. I'm going to dab it in the water all the way. Okay, so it could be nice and damp. It makes the brushes a little softer. Okay, so right there, and I squeeze the water in there so it could kind of, you know, warm up a bit. And here you have it, number 4 with a little bit of water in there. And I'm gonna start with the bottom part right here. So my brightest area is gonna be up here. So I'm gonna, you know, add the darker oranges and reds here. So first, let's just start with the yellow right here. Yellow, a little bit of this. And let's quickly add our brightest area, which I believe will be like somewhere in here. These will be our like some clouds, you know, faraway clouds. And I'm gently pressing, and I'm gonna fade it out somewhere in here. Okay, quickly add that in there like this, maybe even along the way, you know, separate them. These will be, like I said, clouds that are far away. So more of this yellow, and I'm just guessing, you know, separating some of them and guessing where the clouds will be. I kind of have the shapes, you know, where I see the darker areas where I'm gonna fill in with clouds, but So as we go up, I'm going to actually change into this orange color. I'm going to add this orange color in here. Blend it in with my yellow that I added. So a lot of this is going to be covered here, so I'm going to just randomly add it like this. It's going to be just a busy, busy sky today. Right? And then as we go up, I want to add more of that orange color in here. And have it fade out. As you can see, I am quickly putting it in there because clouds are always so different that it doesn't really matter how you do them, really, as long as they look like clouds and people can tell. So I'm going to continue that down. So I'm going to add a little bit in here. Okay, and here I'm going to do the same thing in here like this. I'm going to lightly dab my brush in the water, just a tip so that it can run smoothly on my canvas. So here I want to make this a little bit more orangey. So I'm going to lightly make sure my brush, I know when to dab my brush in the water when I start seeing it like not run, when I start feeling it not running smoothly. And it's really just practicing and going back and forth, and once you get the technique, it's a lot of fun. So I'm dabbing my brush in the water again, playing with this orange color, and I'm going to continue with this orange. Probably let's just have it kind of go up in here. Okay, now I'm going to use this darker, it's almost like dark red or dark orange, right? And I'm going to add it in here. I want to add this darker orange a little bit in here. Blend them in there. Press a little bit. Sometimes it helps to press a little bit onto the canvas. And maybe some in here. We'll have it fade out. We'll add some in here. Okay. something like that. You could see starting to look like some clouds are happening, right? Now I'm gonna continue this orange and maybe add it right in here. I want this to be pretty bright and make it circular a little bit here. Add some fluffiness to it and have it kind of go up, fade out like this. Maybe add that orange color a little bit in here. And I lightly dab my brush in water and pick up orange again, like this. And then continue. I want to add this orange color right in here. Now it's going to fade out somewhere like this. Okay, and then there will be, I'm going to add more details to my clouds along the way. But now I'm going to continue. Now I want to add this color right here, this cherry color next, right? And I'm going to darken some of the areas. So right here, I'm going to combine these with my orange. And you can leave some of that background color showing too. It's kind of nice. And I'm gonna have it fade out to the blue color. Okay, something like this. And then let's add a little bit of white. I want to lighten this area a little bit. And dab my brush in the water lightly and use a little bit of this white and kind of blend it all in. And I'm kind of going at making it like almost like a circular when I'm going up, because if you just keep it flat, you won't have depth in your painting. So make sure you keep it circular. So far away can be more straighter clouds, but as you go up, kind of make it bend. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of starting to add it like like this, bringing it down like this more. Okay, and then we'll have it fade out. So I'm going to continue with this color on this side. I'm going to add that in between the areas where I think it should. Dab my brush lightly in the water, continue with this darker color. And I'm gonna guess that we're gonna have it be in here a little bit. And I'm kind of swirling it a little bit, kind of how we did with the blending of the background. And if I need to press a little bit onto the canvas to blend it in, I do that. So play around and see what works for you, okay? So we're going to continue this, add some in here, wherever you want it to be. But remember, the light is hitting this side of the cloud, so you could see I'm adding the darker colors behind my lighter. So remember, we added this kind of yellow orange here, then a darker orange. Now I'm adding this color and blending it in with that previous color, okay? So that's kind of something to keep in mind. When painting clouds. And we don't have to do it on all of them, but wherever you want your clouds to pop out a little more. Okay, just like this. Now, I'm going to continue on this side. I want to add a little more of this red color. And it's really just back and forth, you know? Going back and forth with your colors, and then you'll get a nice as smooth as you want. So let's move on to our darkest color, this blue one. I'm going to dab my brush in the water lightly and pick up this color here that we have mixed. And let's add it right in here. Let's connect this, kind of what we did with the orange. Let's connect this here. And we're gonna make these dark. So I'm gonna add that blue in here and add a little bit of that going all the way up. I'm just gonna really just focus on covering this side of the canvas. And you know, you could leave some areas showing through if you'd like, but I want to keep it pretty dark on this side. So what I like to do is quickly lay it down, right, and then add my, you know, reds. So I'm going to go back real quick and add the red color in between. For example, add some in here. Maybe going with a little bit of the white and this red color to make a nice, like, lighter color here, and then maybe in between add a little bit. To create depth. Okay. So I'm going to dab my brush in the water and use this red color again, and let's continue adding it right in here. I kind of want it to go in my inside a little bit like this. So now I'm going to dab my brush in water and use this orange, okay, and add a little bit of this orange. Kind of separate them along the way. Maybe a little bit in here. See for yourself. So I'm going to use a little bit of this red now, and I want to add some sharper ones in here, little ones. Make them stand out a little bit. So I'm going to dab my brush lightly in the water. So pick up more of this color, and I want to make a nice darker one right in here. Okay, so we got a quick layout, right, of our sky. Now let's clean our brush and go back to our lightest color. So what we're going to do is play with this white first with a little bit of yellow. Okay, something like that. Make sure our brush is clean, and we're going to add some very bright clouds. That's, blend it in, swirl it, make it look the way you want. And I'm gonna kind of add it randomly along this area. Okay. Continue on with the white and a little bit of that yellow, and let's add underneath this one. Quickly add some in here. Now I want to make this, I'm going to use yellow, I want to make this area a little bit bright for fun. Okay, this area will have that nice yellow glow to it. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Add all these beautiful little highlights. And maybe even let it come around somewhere in here. Okay. All right. Let's add it, continue adding it right in here. Maybe some in between some of these. And then I want to make this area a little brighter. So I'm going to add just this color right here, this yellow color that we have mixed, and underneath kind of go up along. Connect it to this one. some of these. So now I'm going to add a few more areas. So I want to make some of them a little bit darker. So I'm going to use this color here, and I'm going to remember this orange that we added. I'm going to add it right in here. I want it to kind of fade out like this. Okay. Lightly put it in there with some water on your brush. So I'm going to dab my brush lightly in the water and use the same color and continue adding the little darker areas. So I want to add it right in here as well. And I'm going to make this area a little bit darker in here, this pink color. Kind of blend everything in like this. Play with that color again, and let's just add some in here, wherever you think would look good. A little bit in here like this. And dab my brush lightly in the water again, and kind of add some far away ones. I want these to stand out a little more like this. Okay. I'm going to add this red color along here lightly. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of this blue on this side, since I didn't do that on some of the areas, like for example here. I'm going to add it real quick in here to my red. A little bit in here. And then fade it out like this. Some orange and water. I'm going to add a little bit of white on my brush, and I'm going to dim down some areas. For example, this is a little bit too much, I think I added, which is fine, but I'm going to use some orange and a little bit of white to dim it down a little bit. And then maybe even bring it up some of this color, the darker color, so it could kind of, you know, look like it's connecting. Okay. And I think once we have that done, I'm going to use a little bit of, clean my brush again, and I'm going to use just the white. And I decided to use my M2 brush. This is where this works great. I want to brighten this area a little bit lighter, so I'm going to dab my brush in water, blending brush, squeeze it out, okay, like this, and use the white, just the white like this. Kind of swirl it around, make sure it's even everywhere. You can see I have some water in there, but not too much. And I'm going to pick up that white like this and slowly blend this area in. Just blend it all in into your colors. Lighten this area up. So I'm going to use a little bit more white and have it come up and blend it all in. And it's okay if it's carrying onto your clouds a little bit. That's totally fine. It's all gonna go away. Okay, you see how that works nicely? And then same thing on the edges. I want to add that nice darker kind of tone. So I'm going to use this color right here and a little bit of water, okay? Make sure your brush has enough right there. And then I'm just going to make it all one, especially on this side. Like this. I want to make it a little darker right here on the sides. Okay. And then swirl it. Swirl it all in upwards. That. Now I'm going to clean my number 4 brush again and play with some white by itself. Okay, maybe a little bit of yellow, not too much. And I'm going to add some highlights to some of these clouds here. Okay, to create nice depth. So a little bit here. Some areas are going to be a little brighter than others. So a little bit more of that, same color, same idea, and I want to add it underneath some of these areas real quick. Now I can spend a lot of time detailing on my clouds, but I don't want to focus too much on it. We can do that some other day, where you guys can, you know, work on it some other time if you'd like to move on. I'm going to add a few more details and then we're going to continue, okay? So I'm going to create a little bit of highlights on some of these. Okay, so maybe here Add a little bit of that white. Basically, I'm trying to make some of these clouds pop out. So that they could look more interesting. And last, I decided to use my smallest blending brush to show you how you can use this, okay? So I'm gonna dab it in the water. You don't need to do this if you don't want, but I like this effect. And I added medium yellow here, and then I'm gonna swirl my brush like this, okay? You can see, and I'm gonna brighten this area up here. So I'm gonna, you see, make this glow. Okay, and I'm going to blend it in with my colors, and you could see how that works, right? It makes it more vibrant. So with water and a little bit of this color, and I'm going to add some yellow in here and go over some of these areas where I added the orange, because that's what helps it glow. So make sure your brush has a little bit of water, and take a little bit of it, don't take too, it's almost like watercolor. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here and make this, fade this out like this. Okay, and swirl it and let it carry on wherever. Okay, so a little bit more water, and I'm gonna add a little bit here and have it kind of go up like this. And then in here to make the, you know, some of these glow, the yellow areas glow a little bit. So a little bit more. Okay, and there you go. Our sky's pretty much done. We could come back to it later if we'd like, okay? But that's, I think, good enough for now. All right, so I added a touch of yellow, 3 areas right here. This one's the smallest, and then added a touch of white, ColorByFeliks Blue, and a little more here, and then black and some white. I'm going to create a couple shades of green for our trees and far away, you know, kind of landscape right here. And again, I started with a clean palette so that you guys can see clearly the colors that appear on my palette, okay? You don't have to do this if you don't want, unless you want to, you know, come back to it the next day and start all over. This is a good time to pause and come back to it if you'd like. So this should be a light green. Same thing with here. And our last should be pretty dark. Okay. Let's just use these colors, and you could see we're gonna use our number 4 again, continue using that. And we're just gonna create, before we start adding any water, we're gonna create some trees, okay? And what we're gonna do is start off with this darkest color here. Make sure your brush is dry. All right, and then let's just start adding it, you know, kind of eyeball it first. We're going to use the masking tape to, you know, add the water and the reflection later, but let's just eyeball it. So our center is going to be somewhere right in here, right? So where our trees will be, right in here. So I'm going to kind of lightly dab, not press too hard, and kind of, you know, maybe have some trees or some of them are taller, and I'm going to eyeball it. So I'm going to kind of go up all the way, make them bigger each time. So I'm going to go up all the way up in here like this. So change it up the way you want. Okay, same thing here. And I'm going to add a darker color to it later to add some more shadows. But for now, it's fine. This is our base. So I'm eyeballing it, my horizon line. And I'm going to have it come down all the way up in here somewhere. Some of them could be taller. Do the same thing here. I think I'm going to add a few bigger ones. And we'll correct it once we added our water, you know. Let's just quickly sketch that out, okay? And now I'm going to add a little bit of black. Straight from the tube, kind of use this black real quick on some of these areas and dab it in there lightly on some parts. Make sure brush is a little damp. And let's just add it mainly on the bottom, the black area. Okay, like this. on this side as well, on the bottom. Remember, try to focus on adding that a little more. And what I'm doing is I'm adding the black and then I'm pressing to spread that paint around. Okay, so keep that in mind. So let's do the same thing here. A little more black. Okay, so for now that's fine. I'm going to use, actually I'll clean my brush out real quick, and why don't we use this lightest color that we have mixed. Quickly add a few highlights on our trees. Remember, the light is hitting, so from this side of the trees, the left side is gonna glow a little more. Okay, so I'm just randomly spacing them out and skipping some. I don't want to overdo it, but add a little bit of the green glow in there. If you added too much, you can quickly wipe it. Okay, now we're going to come back to this part, and then on this side I'm going to do it on the right side. Lightly pressing and okay, maybe a little more like this. Okay, that's good enough for now. We can focus on the water, and then we can come back with the details of these trees later. Okay, so for now that's good enough. Let's measure. What I like to do is use a ruler to measure, make sure I have the same distance from here to where I want the tape to be, so that my horizon line can be straight across. Okay, so I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to measure and quickly mark it with my paintbrush real quick where I need to place the tape. So I quickly measured it, and for me, I chose to do 7.5. Right here, you can see I measured 7.5 here, in the middle, 7.5, and right here. But for you, it could be different, wherever you placed it. So just measure, make sure it's even, and then we'll take the masking tape, okay? And we're just gonna go across and quickly tape it like, so I marked it right in here and right in here. Make sure it's straight everywhere. So this is where the mark is, and then I think it's right there. And then once you have it placed, just tape it all like this. Obviously, before putting the tape, make sure your background is dry so that it could stick onto the canvas nicely. So everything's dry, and I pressed along here mainly, right here, all across, so that when I lay down the colors, it's not gonna leak through and kind of create this weird, which you can fix later, and it might do that here, but it might not, we'll see. But I taped it nice, and now we can quickly lay our first base, kind of what we did with the sky, down into our water. Okay, all right, so I added all the colors, kind of similar to the sky in the beginning, how we mixed, right? But also I want it to be darker, so I want it to reflect a little bit darker. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I added titanium white, you could see, and a touch of yellow, yellow and orange, orange and a touch of crimson red with my white, and then crimson red and white, and then ultramarine blue and crimson red, and then white and cobalt blue, and then ultramarine blue and white. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly mix that. It's gonna give me that nice bright yellow. Okay, there you go. Next, mix this one And this is our base coat, so it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect, okay? Right there, next. And this one. And then this, for the lighter, I might add a little bit of white to this one actually. Let's do that. Just a little bit for the middle part. I still remember I want it to be a little darker than the sky, so I added just a little bit more white, but it's still blue. It's not going to be, the goal is to make try to copy the colors of the sky, but make them a shade darker. So same thing here, mix this ultramarine blue and white, and our last one. Let's take part of this ultramarine blue and mix it all in there. This one was going to be a dark color, as you can see. There you go. All right, this is what I have, and I'm ready to lay the base of the water. I'm going to pick up my M2 blending brush. I decided to use that one because I don't want to carry with a bigger blending brush. You could use it, you know, and hit accidentally the sky. So I'm going to dab it in the water, similar idea what we did with the sky, and do this quick. So I have some water in here, and I'm going to start with the lightest color here and quickly lay my colors down. Remember, when I say dab, I'm just on the tip with my water, you know, dabbing it down. So I'm going to try to replicate and copy what I see here. So I'm going to add that in here like this real quick. Okay, and then dab my brush in the water. Let's take some orange and add some orange right in here. Okay, really quick. Dab my brush in the water. Let's add a little bit of the pinkish orange, peachy orange, and add it in here. Okay, so more of this peachy orange, and I'm going to add it a little bit in here. This is where it starts getting a little darker. Dabbing my brush in the water, use this pink. Let's add it right in here. Dabbing my brush in the water, picking up more of my pink, and covering this area here. Now we're going to have, you know, the reflection happen, so don't worry about that. But for the base, real quick, let's add this color right in the middle, right in here. Remember, we want the sky to be, the water to be darker here. So now I'm going to use this lighter blue, add it right in here. That nice blue right there. Make the water glow. Dab my brush in water, use this darker color here. Let's add it right in here. Maybe mix it in with the pink. Okay, dabbing my brush in the water again, using this darkest color, and let's cover everything. Real quick. This is going to be very dark in here because of the clouds reflecting onto the water. So I want it to be pretty dark. Let's take the remainder of that color and lay it out evenly like this. All right, now I'm going to pick up one of my blending brushes that I cleaned right here, and I'm going to, on the paper towel, I kind of swirl it to fluff it back up. It's a little damp, but that's okay. It will still work. And we're just going to go back and forth. Since this is the water, I'm going to, well, actually, I'm going to swirl. Hit the middle first. swirl and go back and forth like this. Whatever is easier for you for the water part. It does not have to be perfect because we're gonna add more details to it. Now it's easier to walk around. I am recording, so it's awkward for me to, you know, try to do this. But you see I'm carrying the paint around lightly. I'm not trying to carry too much of the dark to my lighter areas. So make sure, so like this, I'm gonna go around and quickly get that real quick. But basically lightly, same thing with the sky, swirl it and blend everything in, okay? So once your base is done, you can do the same thing, clean out your brushes, your blending brushes, and then let's peel this off first. So let's see what happens. We'll peel it off. Okay, like this. And now we have a straight line. Remember, we're gonna reflect these trees and bushes onto the water here in some of the clouds, okay? But this is a good start right now. And I'm going to quickly clean my brushes and continue. All right, so our background is dry and my brushes are clean. I got a new water. Now I'm not gonna let this go to waste, so I'm gonna leave these colors that we have mixed. But what I did was I just added orange right there, and then I added some Scarlet and a touch of crimson red, and then Ultramarine Blue, crimson red, and a touch of black. So I'm gonna quickly mix this in, all of it in, and we'll see what colors it'll give us. Okay, and then that's fine right there. And then I'm going to take part of that and mix it in with my darker color here. So maybe take a little more. Mix it all in like this. And of course our final color, darkest, for the clouds. We're going to try to reflect the clouds, okay? That's good right there. So it's pretty dark color. All right. So before we do the clouds, I'm going to start from, you know, these trees and continue blending, adding the reflections. Okay. So I'm going to remember, come back to this green here, and I'm going to use number 4 brush again, and I'm going to reflect it. So it's totally up to you how far you want to reflect it. I'm going to go all the way like this and do my best to copy it, you know, reflecting as best as I could, but it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? So I'm going to reflect this area. And remember this tree here. And reflect as best as you can, going back and forth, okay? So remember this tree, so I'm going to have it come down like this, and of course I'll make it darker, but this is the base. Adding the base. It's okay if you cover your horizon line a little bit. We just needed to know our straight line, horizon. So quickly add that in there. Let's see. And kind of do it at an angle, you know, like so. This is at an angle, do that at an angle too. something like this. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the black. I'm going to add some black, a little more, and then cover part of it. Make sure your brush is a little damp so it can blend in nicely. So with the black, I'm going to go ahead and darken everything. You can dab it in there. And if you add it too much, don't worry, we can always fix it. So real quick. Do the best you can to replicate that. Now you don't want to cover everything with black, but you want to leave that background base on some of them areas, okay? So that's good right there. You can take a step back and check it out, you know, see if you like it. Now I'm going to clean my brush and then use a little bit of this green. Remember we mixed? And do the same thing. See, try to replicate this. But I'm doing it at an angle. So on this side I'm going like this, on the water I'm going like this. So I'm doing this like this, and on this side. Okay, and go all the way to the horizon line. Okay, and then so I'm going to try to do some in here. Far away ones. Okay, now I'm going to do it on the right side here. And if you added too much, that's okay. You can always come back and darken it with either the black or the darker green that we mixed. So remember on this side, and then replicate that real quick on the bottom. All right, and then I'm going to use the lightest color here and add the highlights a little bit on these trees to make them stand out a little bit more. Maybe replicate it as best as you can. So I'm going to add a little bit more in here. All right, I think that's good enough for the trees. Now we're going to continue, and we're going to add some reflection of the sky a little bit. So I'm going to add So let's start with this orange that we have mixed and water. And let's try to replicate a little bit of the clouds. Maybe actually use a little bit of this red. And it doesn't have to be exactly like it, so just try your best to replicate it. Dab my brush in water. And I'm gonna try my best to replicate the sky a little bit. Dab my brush in water, make sure it's running smoothly. I'm gonna play around between these colors for now. So I'm going to switch to number 8, and this is where we're going to use a bigger brush for this part, so it could be faster. So I'm going to dab it all the way in the water and take my red here and kind of replicate it the best I could. So remember, this is going to be somewhere in here. And then it kind of darkens in here. somewhere. Now it doesn't have to be exactly like it is on the picture, okay? But do your best. So we're going to do the same thing here. Have it reflect and blend this red first, and then I'm going to replicate this up in here. Now I'm going to switch to this darkest color. I'm going to darken all this. I want it to be very dark. So I'm going to dab my brush in water, take my darkest color, and really darken this area. I want my water to stand out. So remember, the light is going to be somewhere in here, so I'm going to leave some space for that. Okay, and same thing here. I'm going to darken this using the same color because I want my water to be pretty dark. And here I'm going to add a little bit of Ultramarine Blue straight out of the tube. Straight out of the tube. Maybe take part of this and mix it in, and I'm going to kind of add it in here a little bit. Dab it in the water, maybe mix it in with this blue. And let's just add it all in here. I want it to be very dark. Dab it in the water again. All right. Use this blue again. I want this area to be super dark. Swirl it, and then maybe you could use the lighter blue to smooth it out a little bit. Now, there's going to be ripples and things in the water, so don't worry about, it being perfectly blended yet. So add it all in like this. So Ultramarine Blue again, maybe mix it in with this, and let's continue blending all this in. All this is going to be clouds. So press a little bit harder if you need to. So I'm going to dab my brush in the water and then onto the paper towel, and just with a clean brush I'm going to go back and forth, and we're going to create some hints of streaks like this, because I already have some blue in it and red, and kind of go back and forth and maybe take part of the orange here, and let's just add some of it in here. remember, streaks. And it's okay if you cover some of the reflection of that, you know, the trees a little bit. And we're gonna try our best to blend it all in gently, create. So use this orange again, and let's try to replicate the sky. Okay. The best you can. So right here, let's just pretend there's some light in here. You can use the corner of your brush to blend it in gently. Okay, like that. Let's continue adding some on this side. And there will be some random ones along the way, because this side is pretty messy. I'm gonna try to do my best to kind of replicate this. Okay, and then we can go back to the lighter orange and add it in here a little bit. You know, there might be some leaves and on the lake or branches, whatever you think needs on there. So reflect this kind of like that. Same thing here a little bit. All right. Let's add medium yellow. And switch to our number 4 real quick. And let's play with this light color that we have mixed and this yellow. So I'm gonna add some brighter yellow and reflect it into my water a little bit. And we're gonna replicate it as best as we can. Use just the yellow right now with a little bit of orange, because I want it to be leaning towards orange more. And you can kind of also, you know, replicate and add along the way some extras. You know, I think that you have to add, just go in straight to it and then correct as you go. I heard that with many of my artist friends, that they just kind of lay the colors down and correct along the way. So I'm going to use the orange and yellow again, and you know, I'm going to add the white. Remember, some white in here. And you can come back to the red and do the same idea, maybe with this darker color. See right here, I'm gonna add that darker color real quick here. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on my reflection. It's basically the same thing that we did to the sky. Also, what could help is if you flip the canvas over, then you can kind of, you know, go back and forth, flip it back and forth. That also works as well. So, you know, move your painting around, see what works best for you. Maybe it's harder for you to kind of reflect it like this, like how I'm doing it. So flip it, you know, and go back and forth, and you can get this better than I can. So take your time. I'm just showing you the process of how I do it, and then I go back and spend a little bit of time, you know, back and forth playing with these colors and blending in, making sure it's smoother, you know. So I'm gonna darken some of these with orange. Now there's some, like maybe leaves, like I said, or something in the water. I'm going to add those in there with my lightest color here. Some yellow, nice color. Maybe this orange actually. And I'm going to add these little, you know, little things in the water. Now this is like the little details I'll come back to a little bit later, but I wanted to add a few. For you guys. So let's use a little bit of this orange and maybe make some of the clouds brighter. You know, do your best to replicate it. So now let's do the orange and kind of replicate this. Remember this orange area here? And add orange along the way, straight from the tube, trying to replicate it a little bit. All right, so some in here. let's add along here. Kind of blend it all in. A little bit of this orange in here. Dab my brush lightly in the water and swirl my brush around. And let's just add a few orange areas in here. Okay, now I'm going to use a little bit of this dark color, maybe mix it in with the orange actually, because I want to make this darker because it's reflecting, and remember our water is darker, so I want to make sure my reflection is a lot darker than the sky. So orange and this color again, and let's do that in here. Let's make sure everything is darker in here. Okay, now I'm gonna add a few little dark areas with the black, so I'm gonna use the same brush. Clean my brush out and then add a little bit of this black, and underneath these areas, remember, kind of dab it in there next to them on the bottom. Okay, on some of them. Maybe even go in here and add a few by themselves. Remember, this is the lake, so these could be little rocks and sticks in the water, who knows? So I'm going to add a few in here. And you can come back to this lighter one and then add on some of these that you didn't add on top. Okay, so once you're done, going back and forth with these colors and detailing everything, remember we want this to be darker than the sky. So I added a little more like, ultramarine blue and just kind of played around and added the different kind of colors in here, right, to make it a little darker. And I also added more of these, you know, rocks or little things in there. Totally up to you. You could add as much as you want. Let's move on to our flat brush and dab it all the way in the water. And what we're going to do is use a little bit of this red, right? And I want to make sure brush is a little bit damp, so it has a little bit of water. And this is going to be our last few little details before we draw our swans. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of this in here. So, okay, and then use your finger if you'd like. Make some lines in your water so it could stand out. Lightly. You don't want to overdo it, but on some areas you can add that. Okay. There you go. And if you feel like you added a lot, it's very easy. You can go back with your dry number 4 brush and kind of blend it out. But I want to add some of that in here. Just to make it stand out. And then do the same thing on this side a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing, but with a darker color. So this color right here, okay? And then some water. We don't want too much, okay? We just want enough right there to create the ripples. Okay, a few more. Maybe some in here. Okay. And I think that's it. I don't want to overdo it. Maybe a little bit in here and in here as well. And then I'm going to clean my brush and then do the lighter one. So maybe this light orange with the same idea. Make sure you didn't get too much. It's more watery, okay? And then go back and maybe that's a little too much. That's okay. We're going to clean it with our So if you feel like you added a little bit too much, that's all right. You can clean it with a wet brush, number 4. And then we'll continue. I want to add a few. So maybe a little bit in here. A few little ripples. Okay, so I'm going to change to number 8 real quick to blend it in a little bit because I want a hint of it. I don't want a lot. So my brush is a little wet, right? Just go back and forth, move it around. There. So I'll add a few more. Maybe that's a little too strong, that's okay. I switch back to number 8, and since it has some water in there, it's gonna create. There you go. All these little details, they count. Okay. And then you can go up all the way where the trees are. Add a few in here. I'm going to clean this out, and that's it. We are done with our water. Remember, we want it to be lightly. We don't want to overdo it. So, make sure you added just a few. There you go. All right, new palette paper, so you guys can see what I'm doing. I added some white and a touch of black and cobalt blue right here, and then black and scarlet red. So I'm going to just mix this, and it should give me like a grayish, hinting towards a little bit of the blue. Okay, that's good enough right there. And our final color will be pretty dark. There you go. Okay, let's play with these colors and then see what happens. Let's pick up our detail brush, dab it in the water, and we will start with the white by itself, okay? And then let's sketch out quickly our swans, okay? So we're gonna have one here and one somewhere here. So our first one, I'm gonna place him right in here. So his head will be somewhere in here. And then his beak will be somewhere in here. And I'll go over it with darker colors. But for now, I'm outlining it with white. So I'm going to sketch him out quickly, and his neck is going to go down probably up like this. Okay, and then on this side. So his body's going to come down here. This is where he's going to be in the water. And his body, his wings are going to be behind him. So it's going to go all the way up like this. So quickly sketch it out. So his body will end right in here. And then his wing is going to come around. And you can always correct it, along the way. So I'm just outlining him first. Getting my shape down. And once I have a perfect shape, I like to fill everything in nicely. So I'm going to put all the white first, all in here, and in the back right here. Now I might make his head a little bit taller or his body come down a little bit lower. We'll see. Let's just quickly finish sketching this out. His wing in the back. Okay, and now I'm gonna use this gray, remember we have mixed, and add it right in the middle right here. Okay, and then also add a little bit of that gray in here. Shadows. Like that. And of course on his face as well, right here. I'm going to switch to white. Okay, now I'm gonna make this a little bit lower. Have him be a little bit wider. This is where correction starts to happen. And a little bit lower. So, back to the gray. Okay, let's use a little bit of this dark now. Okay, swirl it up. And let's draw his face, his beak. So, maybe something like that. Okay, and then his chin. He needs a little chin, okay? And I'm gonna bring it down, add a little bit of that in here. Add a little bit of the shadows in here. Dab my brush in the water again. Use the gray, and I want to smooth this out a little bit. With the gray. Same thing here. Okay, I'm going to continue with the dark color. I want to kind of get some of this inside area. And then I'm going to reflect that down. So I'm going to guess his neck is going to go down. And this is, now it's a reflection, so maybe some of it's like chopped off a little bit, you know. So let's not make it too perfect. Okay, so his neck goes up, and then his beak somewhere here. Remember to skip some areas. Maybe and then of course in here. Also do the same idea with the darkest color, skip some areas, maybe the water is choppy. Okay, and then also kind of transparently with just the water, go over here and do this. Okay, almost there. I'm going to continue with the dark color and define him a little bit. So I'm going to clean my brush now. Add a little bit more, actually, darker on his neck, right in here, going up like this. Clean my detail brush in the water. Now use the white again, go back to the white, and let's lighten him up a little bit. We want him to stand out. Maybe this side of his neck, lighten it a little bit. So swirl your brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of highlight right on this side of his neck. And have it come down all the way here. Same thing on this side. There you go. I'm gonna go back to my gray real quick, and I want to make this gray in here. Maybe a little bit of the darker. I want to make his neck bend here. Alright, so now I added some Scarlet red and then a lamb black by itself. I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to add it on his beak a little bit. So maybe with a little bit of white, mix it in. It'll be a pink beak There you go. Just a little one like that. And then with the dark, the black, we're gonna pick up our 1/2 inch brush, take the black, swirl it around like this, and I wanna add the shadows more in here. Okay, and then you can add a few. Like this. All right, for now that's good. Let's add another one. Same idea, clean my detail brush, and with the white we're gonna, and you can detail it as much as you want, but I'm giving you the idea, the basic idea, so you can, spend time on doing it as detailed as you want, okay? Alright, so dabbing my brush in water and white, I swirl my brush to get a fine tip, and then the next one I want to draw will be not too far from him. He will be here, so his beak will be, let's have him be right in here, so I'll have his beak be going in like this, and he'll be a little bigger because he's closer. So his head, it's almost like a hat. And then his chin, and then his head will go around and come down, kind of bend a little bit, make him bend. Something like this, and his neck. Dab my brush in the water again. I think I'm going to bring it a little lower, like this. I'm always dabbing my brush in the water when I pick up more paint. So let's say his body will end here. Now the feathers are going to go all the way. It's going to be puffy. So all this is going to be covered in white, and then it'll come out right in here. And then this is where his body will be in the water. And then kind of go up here. And I'm going to have it go all the way probably up to here. Kind of swirl it, and then I think I'm going to make his head a little taller because I made his body bigger here, but that's okay. So I'm going to draw the head a little bit taller, like this, and bigger. So his beak will be right in here. Okay. Now I'm gonna quickly switch over to my number 4 because this will be faster to fill in these areas. So I'm gonna use the white to quickly fill it all in. Okay, with the white. And then same thing on this side. And then remember this gray, let's add this gray in here. And then back to white. Now I'm going to switch back to my detail brush and go to the darkest color right here, swirl it, and let's draw his beak. So remember his beak was somewhere in here. Kind of goes up. And his chin is somewhere here. Let's just cover this up and correct as we go. So I'm going to use some white and yellow, red, sorry, white and red to get a pink, because I want to add a pink peak right in here. Give it a nice highlight. Maybe a little more white. So now I'm going to continue, and I'm going to continue with the dark again, continue with this dark and a little bit of water, and I'm going to sketch it out, the rest of his face, so like this. And then the shadows. Dab my brush in the water. And correct it. Dab my brush in the water again. Use this darkest color. And then here. quickly draw it out lightly. You can see I'm barely pressing. I'm just now adding some details to it. So now I'm going to go back to the gray. Okay, and then I'm going to add some shadows inside. So here I see some shadows that he needs. And then maybe kind of blend it out. So I'm going to switch my brush to number 4 and dab it into the paper towel. Pick up the gray, okay, and continue doing that idea. I want a smoother blend here, so I'm gonna, since my brush is damp, it works nice. Okay. Like this. And a little bit of that gray inside here. Let's use a little bit of the white and add it in here. I don't want this to be just fully gray. I want to create some nice shadows and then cover a little bit of that dark that we added, that outline, with the white. Okay, and then I'm gonna clean my brush completely and then use straight out of the tube, straight white, just white, and then we're gonna go over these areas again. This time we will only touch certain areas. So have it go in, and then in here I want it to go in like this. And let it go down like this. A little more white inside here. Now with a little bit of the white, you can smooth everything in, all the shadows, you see. We want to make it smooth. So go over and cover all those shadows that you added with a little bit of white, and then it will really start to stand out. Same thing here. I'm going to switch to the detail brush and continue with the white. And in here, where his cheek is, I want to add some detail to the chin and let it go around like this. And this beak, so now this is the detailing part. So water and white, and you can spend a little bit of time going over and adding your details and shadows to make him stand out. So a little more white in here. So I'm going to go back to the dark color and fix his beak a little bit. I think it needs to be more around here. Like this. And it's just correcting back and forth, like I said. Make this area a little bit darker and fade it out like this. All right, and then add a little bit of gray to this area right here. I'm gonna dim it down a little bit, and then some white. There you go. That's nice. All right, so now I'm gonna use the black out of the tube, and I'm going to outline him on the bottom here. Where his shadows will be, right? Like this. And now I'm going to switch to my flat brush. Okay. And use the black again. Or mix it in with this red as well. Doesn't really matter, whatever you're more comfortable with. And I'm going to sketch his body out. And remember to skip some of the areas. And quickly add the shadows in there. Do your best to replicate it. And you could add a little bit of white and some orange, touch of orange, and go over and add ripples. A few little ripples, gently. In here. Maybe add a few of them kind of going like this. Wavy. Very, very small amount. You don't want to overdo it. Okay, and a few more here. right, everyone, you can go on and on detailing, come back to the sky, work on the clouds, you know, back and forth. See what you can create. Have fun with this. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for being here, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this tutorial, and share with those that might enjoy having a fun paint session, you know. So be sure to stay tuned for more. Take care and God bless, guys.